Bernard Hopkins said, if you don't know your value, somebody will tell you your value and it will be less than you are worth. I believe that we are carrying all the tools of value for others, but we just don't know how to maximize them. Today, I will talk to you about the evidence of when your value is deflated. We'll analyze the root causes, and I will share with you 3 of the many ways to elevate your value. First, a little bit about me. I am Elizabeth A. Carter, born on Long Island, New York. My dad was a school teacher who elevated to become a school district administrator. My mother was a housewife taking care of me and my younger brother, Peter. Now, decades later, I am a person with multiple degrees, have worked in profit and nonprofit companies, 25 years in insurance, working for big companies, Allstate, AIG, The Hartford, Farmers, now working in healthcare insurance. I'm an author, speaker, trainer, and I call myself a corporatepreneur because I still hold a full-time corporate job and have my own business appeal. Now, I don't say all of that to impress you, but to press upon you that there were several points in my life where I felt my value was deflated. One situation was December of 2015. It was yet another year that I had been told I was doing a great job, but I hadn't seen any recognition. I had been working at this company for almost 7 years, and I had already passed my own personal goal that I wanted to be promoted by then. So I said to myself, 2016 is going to be the year. So I started planning. But in February, my manager called me into her office. So I am so excited. I'm thinking that I am finally going to be elevated, promoted. They figured out that I have value to the organization. But when she called me into the office, she let me know that me and 5 others were being terminated. I was devastated. And it was at that moment that I realized that even though I have a million letters after my name, even though I had been giving my blood, sweat, and tears to this corporation, and even though I thought I was strong, powerful, and thought that I was at least, irreplaceable or at least retainable, the company let me know by these actions that I really didn't have any value, that I was worthless. And of course, now I'm mad at myself because I should have done something earlier. But I had 15 months to think about this. Let me share with you some of the evidence that came to me as I was thinking, talking, going to networking meetings, meeting other people in the same situation. We had lots of great conversations. One of the items that was evident that I missed was that I was complacent. I had a nice salary, loved my coworkers, could set my vacation time the same week every single year. But I knew I was meant for more, but I just started to feel too comfortable. Look at those slippers. Aren't they comfy? How many of you have a pair of those slippers? And how many of you are wearing them right now because you're working from home? The second area was missed opportunities. You see, I had been playing the waiting game. I was so certain that eventually I'd be promoted, that when headhunters would call me, recruiters, friends that I used to work with would call me to say, hey, I've got this great job over here. It'd be perfect for you. I'd be like, no, I'm good. My company's treating me pretty good. No, I'm not interested. But of course, now that I know what I know, had I had any conversation with any of those folks, who knows where I would have been now? How many of you, as you think about this, have missed clues that your value is being deflated. Mm. So I met with an executive coach because I needed some help. And she and I talked through what are some of the reasons why I fell into this sense of complacency and missing opportunities. First, it was the fact that I listened to other people's opinions. How many of you have voices in your head? The voices in my head were my parents. That little girl in that picture you saw, she's supposed to be a lawyer. But it wasn't for me. I couldn't do it. So I tried to make up for that feeling that I was disappointing my parents by having other degrees, but I was still always being questioned. So why are you getting a PhD? Then you have this ping pong in your head. You have your ego saying, hey, let's do it. This is great. Then we have self-doubt saying, what are you, crazy? And that ping pong feeling comes from a sense of imposter syndrome. Studies show that 70% of people experience imposter syndrome at some point in their career. Of course, it comes from a feeling of self-doubt, thinking that everything that has come to you is due because of luck or timing, not because you actually deserved it and worked hard for it. And I know often as I was thinking about all my promotions and what has happened to me in my career, I would always question, now, why are they promoting me? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? And last is fear of failure. No one likes to be told they're wrong, that there's a mistake, there's an error. You feel like you have this big F on your chest because you've made one mistake and you think as if it is career changing for the worst. And you tend to now overcompensate. You double check, triple check, and I work in finance. So the numbers always have to be right. And if I missed one set of numbers, which happened to me once, from that point forward, everything I had to look at 2, 3, 4 times. My staff was so mad at me, but I didn't want to make a mistake. And that caused me really to be stuck, afraid to move, afraid to take an opportunity. How many of you have had these challenges, seen the evidence of complacency, missed opportunities, and had a conversation with someone and really boiled it down to opinions, imposter syndrome, fear of failure? There could be something else that's been holding you back. But I'm here to free you. Just as my executive coach freed me, I want to free you. I think we did because it took a little bit of time to dig deep, to really analyze the situation. What was bringing forth all of those root causes? What was causing me to become complacent? And we dug deep. You ever do that 5 why conversation? It's so annoying. They ask you why. And it's painful because you have to dig deep down into those areas that you had hidden, that you crushed, that are so deep you didn't never want to bring it back up again, but you need to, because there's tons of hurt there, something you're carrying. Because the question really is, what is that one thing you're carrying around? What is that situation, that outcome, that relationship that still hurts when you see some hint of a similarity? For me, it was a situation years ago where I felt I had to jump through unnecessary hoops for a promotion. I had seen others get promoted. It looked fairly easy. They did a few extra assignments and poof. But for me, I had to go out of town for 6 months and work temporary in a different office. I had a staff that didn't appreciate me. It just felt as if there was a test, an extra test, and then an extra test. And that always stirred my imposter syndrome. And now, even still, when something is too easy, I question it. When something is too hard, I question it. What are you dragging around? You need to let it go. Second, have a vision. And now, when I talk to employees about how to help them understand their value and elevate, a lot of times their challenge is clarity. They're not sure what they want to do next. They have passions. They have an industry they've been working in forever. They have skill set in what I will consider a specialization or a pillar. And not always do the three align. And they're trying to decide which way do they want to go because they're vastly different. And I had that problem too when I was talking with my coach because I had been in finance forever, made a really great salary from that, but I had a passion for training and development, which is why I started my own company, Appeal. But she said to me, you have to be able to find a place where you can do both because you'll excel, you'll shine, you'll be engaged when you're able to leverage both of those opportunities into one. Have you thought about your clarity? Have you thought about where you want to be? And we hate to say 5, 10, 15 years. Where do you want to be tomorrow? Sometimes it's even a challenge. But you have to be clear on your path. The third step is what I call the blueprint. As a corporate leader, and I've been talking again to many employees, I had a coach, I am a coach to several others. People are feeling deflated because they don't know what to do next. And I created my company, Appeal, to be able to really help people think through their solutions. And everything sits on 4 pillars of performance, engagement, analytics, and leadership. When you excel in those areas, your career will flourish. But it's a process. And it really comes from being visible, vocal, and valued. And I have summed this all up into a framework I call the yups. And the reason why I call it the yups is that when you hear the steps, you will be like, yep, I've done that. Yep, tried that, didn't work. Yep, I've heard that before. Yep, somebody else did it. I saw it was successful, but I haven't tried it. But marketing says you need to hear something 7 times before you change your behavior or consider it part of your daily mantra. For some of you, this may be the first time you're hearing this. For some of the others, it may be the 7th time. But I want you to understand what they are, and I'll share them with you. There are 5 of them. First is set up. And that's about changing your mindset and the way you do things. Show up is really how you stand out in new places. Step up, once you've shown up, you want to know why you're there. What is your purpose? Then catch up, and that is remaining relevant with your company and your network. And lastly, speak up. And remember, we are judged well before we open our mouth. We have to make sure when we do that it counts. Now, I'm not going to go through all 5 today. I want to focus on one particular one, which is catch up. But if you want the entire framework, I would love for you to send me an email to info@drelizabethcarter.com. Provide your name, your email, phone number, and put in the subject line, yup. And I will send you all of these. But I want to focus in on catch up. I did this presentation last week, and when it was a workshop, and when I shared all of them and asked the audience, which one did you feel was the most important to focus in on right now? They said catch up. So let's talk about that. And catch up means literally and figuratively catching up. First, really questioning why we should catch up. We all have heard the saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. But I always think of it to mean also, what do they know about you? Relationships matter. And one of the other ups, I talk about networking, and I know some people love it, some people, not so much. but it really does make a difference. But you must be purposeful. Make a calendar. When you meet people, write in your calendar when you'll reach back out to them next. It could be 6 months, 3 months, once a year. Oh, for those of you who are on LinkedIn, that's a great way to connect. People are sharing information and sharing an article. They got a new job. They're commenting on somebody else, you know. That's a wonderful, what I call warm transfer, to be able to hop in and just say, hey, how's it going? Congratulations. What's new? Let's catch up. Let's have coffee. Let's talk. And you can share what you're working on, and they'll share what they're working on. And often it's just really sharing information. And sometimes it does turn into something more than that. But again, don't miss the opportunity by not having the conversation. Next is creating accountability. And when we think about what we haven't done, why we stay complacent, why we miss opportunities, if we haven't told anyone our aspirations, how can they help you? How will they know? I may have inferred that I was interested in being promoted to my boss, but maybe she didn't think about me in certain circumstances that when things arose. What you have to do is have conversations with your boss. Usually you'll talk about what's happening right now. How's the work going? How's that project? How's that deadline? But you also want to have separate conversations about your next. What are you doing next? What are you aspiring to do? So that they are aware and can help you fill in the gaps. And last is ensuring you remain relevant. Are you caught up on the new trends, the new industry, the new technology, the new competitors? Do you need maybe another designation, another certification, some training? You probably have a great training, HR, learning and development program in your company. Take advantage of it. Those courses are quick, maybe 20 minutes, an hour, but everything you learn is useful. Don't make yourself irrelevant. And I've done all of these steps, and it paid off for me. Because in 2017, 15 months later, again, from being laid off, I found a great job, and I used the yups in that space. And in January of 2022, I was promoted from a director up to an executive as a vice president. Now I'm still managing my imposter syndrome, and I use my fear of failure as a foundation of learning and growth. And I'm leveraging my networks inside and outside the company. So I'm telling you, these tools work. So my question to you is, how are you going to maximize your value? How are you going to get over your imposter syndrome, fear of failure, other people's opinions, complacency, missed opportunities, or whatever else is holding you back? How are you going to make sure that your bag of value is full and that you are getting what you're worth? Again, for that blueprint, send me an email with your name, phone number, email to info@drelizabethcarter.com, subject line yup. And you'll be able to use not just these tools I shared in the catch up, but in the other 4 yups. I'll leave you with this quote from Albert Einstein. Strive not to be a success, but rather be of value. I'm Elizabeth Dr. E. Carter, PhD, your corporate elevation strategist. I equip women of color with strategies to get past their complacency, fallacies, and missed opportunities so that they can be more vocal, visible, and valued so that they can elevate in the corporate world. I thank you so much for your time. All of you, please work to elevate your value.